Hello dear student, myself Unagar Vimal. Here we are going to study mathematics of standard 10th, and here I am going to take chapter number 2, polynomials, and part 3. Here we are going to study factorization of polynomial, and in factorization of polynomial we are going to study method number 2, factorization of quadratic polynomial. In part number 2, we have studied method number 1, how can we extract common factors from given polynomial. In this lecture, we are going to study factorization of quadratic polynomial. So here, our method number 2, factorize quadratic polynomial. First, we recall our factorize polynomial, quadratic polynomial. What is a quadratic polynomial? So you have studied earlier in standard 9 what is a quadratic polynomial, but we recall it. uh, Quadratic polynomial, a polynomial of degree 2, a polynomial of degree 2 is called quadratic polynomial. In given example or given polynomial, if you find highest power of polynomial, uh, uh, highest power of term in polynomial as 2, and it is known as degree of polynomial, then if the polynomial of degree 2, then it is called quadratic polynomial. So uh, general form of quadratic polynomial given as ax square plus bx plus c. Here you can see that the highest power of polynomial is x raised to 2. So uh, and it is also degree of polynomial. So it is a formula, general formula of quadratic polynomial, ax square plus bx plus c. Here you know that a and b and c, a and b and c are constant, and here we note that a does not equal to 0. A never be 0. If you put a is equal to 0, then the first term a into x square be 0, then remaining part bx plus c, and it is a formula of linear polynomial. So we for always note that a does not equal to 0. For example, the given example of quadratic polynomial as p of x is equal to x square plus 3x plus 2. Here you can see that uh, the given polynomial and the terms of polynomial are given in some arrangement. So here given first term has power 2, second term has power 1, and the last term is constant, or you can say that the last term has x raised to 0 variable. So x raised to 0 is equal to 1. So the last term is constant, or you can say that it is a coefficient of x raised to 0. And next example, that is q of x is equal to 2x square plus 3x minus 2. So these are about quadratic polynomial as you studied in previous classes. Now we study our method number 2, factorization of quadratic polynomial. So how can we factor quadratic polynomial? So for factorization of quadratic polynomial, we have to follow some step for it. So for formula, we consider a polynomial as p of x is equal to x square plus 3x plus 2. We have considered here one polynomial, p of x is equal to x square plus 3x plus 2, and it is a quadratic polynomial. Now for factorizing this polynomial, we follow some step. That is step number 1. Step number 1. We find the coefficient of x square. First we find the coefficient of x square, and we find the coefficient of x raised to 0 or a constant term in polynomial, that is coefficient of x square is equal to 1 as given, and constant term is equal to 2. Now we multiply the coefficient of x square and the constant term, then we get 1 into 2 is equal to 2. 1 into 2 is equal to 2. Here you can see that the coefficient of x square is positive and the constant term is also positive. Then you get 1 into 2 is equal to positive 2. Now here we get 2. Now we follow step number 2, that is now we factorize 2 and get only 2 factor of 2, and get only 2 factor of 2, so that by addition or subtraction, we get middle term of quadratic polynomial. Here we factorize 2 and we get only 2 factor of uh, 2, then that we get middle term of polynomial. Here given middle term is 3x. Now how can we factor 2? And we also note that if the value of the multiplication of the given coefficient of x square and constant term is positive, then we uh, do addition of factor of 2, and if we have get this solution as -2, then we subtract the to do subtraction of factor of 2. So here we get 2 as positive. So now we add or do addition of given factor of 2. Now let's go for step number 3. How can we do that? So here we factor 2 as 2 into 1. Here we factor 2 as 2 into 1. So here if we get 2 as positive, so we make addition of 2 and 1, that we or subtraction of 2 and 1, then we get middle term as +3. So you can say see here that if we add 2 and 1, 2 and 1 by putting positive sign, then we get +3. So here we do addition of 2 plus 1, then we get +3. So step number 3, here we have find that step 1 and step 2 and get and we have split here middle term as 2 and 1. Now we follow step number 3. Now p of x is equal to x square plus 3x plus 2 as given. Now here we split middle term as we find in step number 2. Here we put x behind 2 and 1. So we get x square plus 2x plus 3 plus 2. Here we will not change first term and last constant term, and we put it as it is. But here we split 3x, or we here we split middle term as we uh, get in step number 2. So here we splitted uh, the middle term as 2x plus 3, 2x plus x is equal to 3x. So now we uh, divide it in two group. The first one is 2x x square plus 2x, and second one is x plus 2. In previous lecture we have studied how can we factor or we extract common factors from given polynomial. Now that rule we use here. Now extract a common factor from first group, then we get x as a common factor. So we extract x as a common factor from first term, group of term. So we get in bracket x plus 2, and from second group, we get here we can't get any common factor, so for common factor we put plus 1. Here given plus sign, so we put here plus sign, and as a common factor we put here plus 1. And remaining part is, if we extract x from x, then it will be x, and if we extract x for 1 from 2, then it is be 2. So in bracket x plus 2. Now you can see that in first term and the second term you can find common bracket as a x plus 2. So we again extract x plus 2 from both the group. So we get a factor of p of x as x plus 2, and in another bracket, as we done in previous lecture, that remaining part we put in another bracket. Here x plus 2 we extract from both the group, then remaining part is here x and plus 1, we put it in another bracket. So it is about factorization method of quadratic equation. So here we follow three step. Step number 1, that we find coefficient of x square, that is first term and last term as a constant term. Then we multiply it. If it is positive, then we factorize given answer, and we do subtraction. If it is negative answer, then sorry, if we get a negative answer, then we do subtraction, and if we get a positive answer, then we do addition of factor of given answer. So it was step number 2, and the last that we have done here. Now let me understand by some examples. Here given example, x square minus 17x minus 60. Now first we find the coefficient of first term and last term. Here you can see that the first term has plus 1 coefficient, and the last one is constant term, so we put here minus 16. So here we get multiplication as minus 60. So you can see that the answer we get is minus. So after finding or reducing it in two factors, we do subtraction of that factors, that we can find middle term of our polynomial, middle term of our polynomial. So now we first find the two terms, or we reduce our answer in two factor, that we can do subtraction and get middle term. So first we get LCM of 60. So here we have find the LCM of 60, that's 30 2s are 60, 15 15 2s are 30, and 5 3s are 15, and 1 5s are 1, 1 5s are 5. So here we have find factor of 60 as 2 into 2 into 3 into 5. Now we find only two factors, then that we can subtract or do subtraction of these two factor, and we find second middle term of given polynomial. So if you multiply 2 2s are 4, and 4 5s are 20, and remaining 3, so 23 is 60, and you can see that subtracting 3 from 20, we get 17. So now about sign, if we put here minus 20 and plus 3, then we get minus 17, because 20 is last term, then we put minus sign in subtraction. So here we find middle term. So here we have splitted our middle term as 20x plus 3x. So now let's go for our example. So now we split our middle term of polynomial as minus 20x plus 3x. So now again we split in two terms. So here first group is x square minus 20x and another group is 3x minus 60. Dear student, you always see here the sign in given polynomial. Here from first group of terms we can find x as a common term, uh, common factor. So we extract x from both the terms, then we get x, and then remaining part we put in bracket. So here remaining part is x minus 20. Here given plus sign, so we put here plus sign. Now from 3x and 60 we can find 3 as a common factor, so we extract 3 from both the term, so we get here 3 and into bracket x minus 20. Here again you can find in both the term x minus 20 is a common factor, so we put in it in bracket x minus 20 and remaining part put in another bracket as x and plus 3. So it is a factorization of quadratic polynomial. Now one more example, example number 2 is given 15x square minus 32x plus 9. Here the coefficient of first term is 50 15, and the constant term is 9. Then we do multiplication of both, then we get 15 multiplied by 9 is equal to 135. You can see that here the answer is positive. Then we find the factor of 135 and we do addition of both factor, that we get middle term. Now first we get LCM of 135 as you have studied. So that the LCM after taking up LCM of 135 we get factorization as 3 into 3 into 3 into 5. Now we reduce it in only two factor, that we can do addition of both and we get find middle term of polynomial. So here 3 into 3 3s are 9 and 9 3s are 27 and remaining 5. Here we reduce the factor of 135 as 27 and 5. So here we can if we add both the term, both the value, then we can find middle term of polynomial. Then 27 plus 5 is equal to 32. Now about the sign of polynomial, here you can see that the second term or middle term has minus sign. So here we are going to do addition of both term, and we have also see the sign of both term. So 22 and 5, if we put both sign as negative sign, then we get minus 32. So here we will split middle term by both sign. So we get 15x square, and now we split 32x as minus 27x minus 5x. Again, as we studied, we make group of two terms. So first group we can find 3x as a common factor. So we extract 3x from 15x square minus 27x. So here the remaining part is 5x and minus 9. Now here we must see or not the sign of first term of given in second group. Here given minus sign, so we put here minus sign, and you can see that we can't find any common factor from second group. Then we take 1 and we put in bracket. Here given minus sign, so we change the sign of other terms. So if we put here minus sign, then the 5x will be 5 minus 5x will be 5x, and minus plus 9 will be minus 9. Now again we have two terms, and you can find common term 5x minus 9, uh, and we now extract 5x 9 from both the term, then we get 5x minus 9, and in remaining part we put in another bracket is 3x and minus 1. So now one more example. Here given example number 3 is 2x square plus 5x minus 3. Now first we get the constant value and the coefficient of first term. Here 2 is a coefficient of first term and a constant term is minus 3. So 2 into minus 3 is equal to minus 6. So here we get minus, answer is as a minus. So we do subtraction of 2 factor of 6, that we get middle term of our polynomial. So now we get LCM of 6 is given here. So LCM, by getting LCM of 6, we have find the factorization of 6 as 1 into 2 into 3. We can write only 2 and 3, but here we have put it 1 also. So now we make 2 only, we reduce it in only 2 factor, that we can find we do subtraction and we find middle term. So 2 3s are 6 and we put 1 as it is. So you can see that subtraction of 6 and 1, we get answer 5. Subtraction of 1 and 6, we can get middle term of given polynomial. So now we put 6 and 1. Now we also see the sign of middle term. Here you can see that the middle term has positive sign. So after doing subtraction of 6 and 1, we get 5 as positive. Then we put positive sign to we give positive sign to 6 and negative sign to 1. Then we do subtraction of 6 and 1, then we get plus 5 as our middle term. So now for our polynomial, we split middle term as 6x and minus x. So now we do we make two group as 2x square plus 6x and another group minus x minus 3. Now as we do 2x is a common factor in first group, then then remaining part is x plus 3 in bracket. Now here minus sign, so we put here minus, and we can't find any common factor, so we put 1. So here given minus sign, so the sign of after minus sign, the sign of terms after minus sign will be changed. So minus x be x plus x and minus 3 be plus 3, and we put it in bracket x plus 3. Now again you can see that in both terms we can find x plus 3 as a common term. So we put x plus 3, and this rest of part we put here as 2x minus 1. Now example number 4, you can see here given a given polynomial 6x square minus 24x minus 3. So here you can see that 6 is a common factor in given polynomial. So first we extract the 6 from each term. So we have extracted 6 as a common factor from given polynomial. Then we get 6 in bracket x square minus 4x minus 5. Now we factorize x square minus 4x minus 5. So we can see that x square has a coefficient 1 and the constant term is minus 5. Then we get this multiplication of both as a minus 5. So here we get minus sign. So we do subtraction of factor of 5. Then uh, we get middle term of middle term of our polynomial. So 5 we have factor as 5 1 into 5. So you can find that if we do subtraction of 5 and 1, then we get our middle term as 4. Now we have put here first 5 and 1. Now about sign of middle term. Here we see that the sign of middle term is negative. So we put negative sign in large term. So minus 5 plus 1 is equal to minus 4. So now again we split our middle term as given here minus 5x and plus x. So now again we make two group x square minus 5x and x minus 1. From first group we can find x as a common factor, then we get x minus 5, and here put v plus 1 and x minus 5. X minus 5 is a common factor, then we get x minus 5 and in another bracket rest of part x plus 1. So it is a factorization of quadratic equation. Now I think you have understand that how can we find factorization factor of quadratic polynomial. So here given some example for your self practice that factorize quadratic polynomial. Here given 10 quadratic polynomial. Do it your by yourself and get the answers.